I'm back, bitches!
Damn, who knew?
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the $1 Billion Movie Club, where every week we look at movies that made money and question, why didn't this make more money? It should have.
That is very rare, actually, that we do that. But you know what? It might feel kind of apt in this case.
Fitting for this case. This case being Furious 7. If you are watching on YouTube and looking at my screen, it's spelled out in the movie Furious 7, Seven. Just like our favorite movie, Iron Man 3. I am your host, Christian Simpson, and with me, as always, is my co-host,
Pawan Mehta.
Pawan, what happens in this movie?
All right. So we open in a hospital and we get the transporter man himself being like, I'm gonna avenge you. And then you just get a pullout of the entire hospital and it's blown to bits. Like it's like Joker level explosions happening here. And then it's like, damn, this guy's a badass. So then we cut to a bunch of like establishment of these characters that you're supposed to know for 6 movies now and like where they're at. But like I jumped into this movie, so who cares? And then you get the like government agency thing where Dwayne The Rock Johnson is working. And then like Mr. Bad Transporter Man shows up and he's just like, wait a second, let me finish the thing I'm doing. And then they beat the shit out of each other. And then Dwayne The Rock Johnson's in the hospital for most of the movie.
It's only like the first 10 minutes, but go on.
And then like Dom's like, yo, he's coming after us because somehow he caused an explosion in Tokyo Drift. And then they're like, how are we going to get him? We're going to throw cars out of planes with parachutes. And then they rescue somebody. And then she's like, I know how to use the system. And then they use the system. And they're like, damn, they stole the system from us. And then it's like, now we got to hack our system back. And that's the movie.
That was Furious 7, released on April 3rd, 2015, with a budget of $190 million. It had an opening domestic gross of $147 million. It was number 1 for 4 weeks straight until it was dethroned by Age of Ultron, a film we'll be discussing soon. On April 17th, 2015, Dave McNary at Variety reports, Furious 7 crosses $1 billion at worldwide box office. It is notable for taking place in 17 days, the fastest film at this point to ever cross $1 billion, very fittingly. The film would go on to gross...
Is it fitting? Because this isn't fast. This movie isn't fast. It's furious, okay?
It's implied. It's in the implication of the speed. The film would go on to gross $353 million domestically and $1.516 billion worldwide. Pawan, let's put this into perspective, all right?
Mm-hmm.
The previous film...
Put the reframing goggles on.
And Furious... I thought I had this pulled up, and I forgot to pull it up. The previous film...
What was Fast and Furious 6 called?
Fast and Furious 6.
That's it?
Yes. So,
wow.
So Fast 5 grosses $626 million worldwide. Fast and Furious 6, $788 million worldwide. Furious 7 almost doubles that with $1.5 billion worldwide.
Oh, the film raking it.
At the time was the 26th highest grossing film domestically and 4th worldwide. Currently sits at number 54 domestic and 9 worldwide. Pawan, have you seen this movie before?
I saw it in theaters.
I regret not seeing it in theaters.
This was one of the few times where I did have like a popcorn theater experience where like everyone was cheering and stuff like that.
Oh, I wish.
It was really fun because like whenever Dom brought up family, we were like, hell yeah.
That's what I've learned. Have you seen the entire series? I forget.
No.
Okay,
I've
so you've seen.
seen I've seen this one in theaters. I saw 5 on the television. I saw the second half of 3 on Sonic Times Day this year. And yeah, that's about it.
So I've never seen any of these movies before. Caught up on them this week, and I'll be honest, kind of intrigued, but also very apprehensive, uncertain how I'd feel about this. And I fucking love these movies.
They're great. They're great. I need to go back and watch the rest of them.
They are so ridiculous. And I think so you haven't seen 6, right?
Nope.
So 6 is when they first start doing like superhero shit. And Tyrese is like, we don't do this type of thing. All right. And then he has the line in his movie. He's like, all right, you wanted me to sneak into a bank, sneak into a police office. Then you wanted me to shoot down a plane, but this is too far. And I love how far it goes. I love it.
Honestly, like I remember watching 5 on the TV and like, you know what? The middle part of that movie was a little boring, but that third act with like the safe, crazy.
I actually really like all of 5, but I understand it as it turns into them planning the heist. Not as much happens.
Well, but it's also the thing where like I was watching it with ad breaks, so that might have also added
Oh,
to it.
that sucks. Yeah.
But like that safe, the way they like just drive it around, crazy, crazy.
Weirdly, I feel like that's the most ridiculous thing that's happened in this franchise. Like, sure, they destroyed a plane in 6. They jump and make the cars fly. Which, can we talk about the first scene with not the first scene, but right before Statham's bomb explodes in front of Dom's house. I think Jack, Brian's son, throws a car, and
It's
then
like
Brian's
cars don't fly.
And yet they do.
I was gonna bring that up later, but let's.
So although I've never seen the movies, like a couple months ago, I found this video on YouTube, which is like the behind the scenes of how they did the car jumps. And I'm like, what the fuck is this movie? And it still was awesome.
You know, like Mission Impossible has Tom Cruise. The Fast and Furious franchise has vehicles.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I've never seen the Mission Impossible movies, but does Tom Cruise never drive a vehicle and just runs everywhere?
I mean, you wouldn't be wrong to make that assumption. But it's not exactly right either, but like you're not wrong.
God. All right, Pawan.
Actually, no, in 2 he definitely drives vehicles because James Wan. Wait, no, this is
No, that's not James Bond. That's
what's
it's
his
the face off dude, right?
Yeah. Because this is James Wan.
Mission
Is this
Impossible?
I'm getting
this one is James Wan. We forgot to mention. So this one is the Mission Impossible 2, because that's gonna bother us if we don't have it. Is John Woo.
John Woo.
John Woo.
Honestly, you know what? I'm gonna say it. Mission Impossible 2, best Mission Impossible.
I have no thoughts. So
y'all in the comments can fight me on this. I will not back down.
So Furious 7 is directed by James Wan. It's odd because the 3 through 6 are all Justin Lin movies. James Wan takes over for 7. I've never seen another James Wan movie. I don't know about you.
He usually makes horror movies, right?
Yes, I'm looking. It's Saw 3, Dead Silence, Insidious, Conjuring. And then he does Furious 7, does another Conjuring, and then a movie we'll talk about later, Aquaman, he also did. You astutely noted last week he's the first person of color who's directed one of these films, which is nice little touch.
And like also you could also see the sort of internationality in the cast as well.
That's one of the things I love about this franchise.
Yeah,
because it starts off in the beginning, and just kind of grows from there, and it's a nice touch that I don't think anyone really mentions because it's just assumed, like it's just part of it.
Yeah, they're not like, yo, we need to get the Asian guy.
Well, they didn't do that this movie because he did. He did.
That's true.
Um,
You know what? Let's touch on that a bit because like this movie very much intersects with 3.
yes. So we want to start about the timeline of the Fast and Furious movies.
Sure, let's get into that.
So those who don't know, they make Fast and Furious and then Too Fast, Too Furious.
I'm too fast for y'all.
Then they try to reboot it with Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. And then they go back to the characters from the first Fast and Furious and they retcon 3 to take place later in the timeline. So the timeline goes, do you have your pens and pencils to write this down? The timeline goes number 1, The Fast and the Furious. Then number 2, Too Fast, Too Furious. And then number 4, Fast and Furious. Then number 5, Fast 5. Number 6, Fast and Furious 6. And then number 3, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. And now we're back to this current film, Furious 7.
It's great. And honestly, I also gotta say, I love the naming convention for these movies. How
And
they
the
just
lack of
jump
one.
around. Like, honestly, I can't think of a better sequel title than Too Fast, Too Furious.
It's the perfect title for that movie.
Because, like, it's also so much of its time.
Yeah. That's the fascinating thing of watching the first 2 and a little of the third one is that they do feel like time capsules of that period and what movies were back then.
Because, like, that's also the era when, like, in the wake of how big Fast and Furious was, you got movies like Torque.
Which one's Torque?
Torque is the movie that has a motorcycle kung fu fight.
Wait. So are they 2 humans on motorcycles doing kung
Yes.
fu, or are they motorcycles who come to life and do kung fu?
No. They're 2 people on motorcycles that are just like having a fist fight with their motorcycle. So there's like parts where they're like multiple times they're at opposite ends, and then they just drive up to each other and they just like clash the front wheels and stuff like that.
So yes, as you mentioned, with the post-credit scene of 6 and now with the beginning of 7, they finally connect Tokyo Drift to the rest of the movies.
So like I said, I saw the second half of Tokyo Drift as it was airing on TV on Sonic Times Day this year.
Sure.
And it felt a little jarring, like noting the tone and like scope of that movie, and then having it that juxtaposed with this one, like happening at around the same time.
Oh, the fact that they happen around. Well, can we talk about how in Tokyo Drift at the end, they're all on these like flip phones watching the race? And that's like 2012 now because of how it was retconned.
Yeah. Listen, they were just in the one region of Japan that's like, they were like, you know what? Flip phones are still all the rage. I will die on this hill.
I didn't realize we were going to get this deep into Tokyo Drift, but it is my least favorite of the movies because I don't like the main dude.
Okay, I could kind of see that, but like watching how the plot for that one unfolded in the second half, that shit was amazingly hilarious. Where like he's like, listen, I know I undermined your entire Yakuza operation and like you're not happy with me, but you know what? I'll race you.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's exactly what happens.
And then the dude's just like, you know what? Let's do it.
It's his uncle. He runs the people and he, you know, makes perfect sense. Like, did you see the scene? Did you see the scene of when he's practicing drifting and there's the 2 guys fishing? It's like, oh, he's bad.
But no, I don't think that might have been earlier in the movie than when I started. But like, I also remember that they retconned his death, right? Because if I remember from that like chase sequence that was there, the way he died was just an explosion that happened because of the car crash.
Yeah, it appears to be a random car smacks into his, he crashes, he starts to try to crawl out, and then boom, explosion. But now we know Jason Statham is the one who did it.
I will say, the main reason why I was psyched to see this one in theaters was because Jason Statham was the villain.
I don't think I've seen a Jason Statham movie outside of this.
Like, I remember back in the Blockbuster days, seeing the Transporter movies, they're running that shit and being like, yo, this is the car guy. And they finally got the car guy in the car franchise.
They did. They did. He's awesome in this movie too.
Yeah. I think when I initially saw it, I was a little upset at I would have liked a bit more Jason Statham, but because when I was going into this movie initially, I was like, I'm going here for Jason Statham in this movie.
I see. I am intrigued watching this movie. I haven't seen Fate of the Furious or Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how that rift gets repaired within the span of one movie.
How does that work? It just does not make sense to me, and I'm intrigued. The Rock in this movie, I was thinking, The Rock reminds me of Happy in Iron Man 3.
I mean, something very similar. It's like a similar character trajectory as it relates to the movie.
Yeah. And he's so important in 5 and 6. That's so weird that he can't take a step back in this one.
I mean, maybe he just had other obligations.
Probably did. He probably did. But you know what he got to do? He got to flex his muscle, and then the cast popped off.
It's the little moments that just make it super epic.
He does that. He grabs a machine gun and guns down the helicopter while standing in the middle of the street. And that first fight between him and Statham is pretty badass.
Yeah. Also, you know what? Let's get into the fights now.
Yeah, let's go.
It's not the best choreographed, but what I really liked about it is how it utilizes actual motion and momentum.
Yes. The way the camera moves or the choreography?
Both.
Yeah.
Because even though there's a lot of hand-to-hand fights, you don't forget that this is a franchise about cars because they move very much like they're zooming. Even during the fights.
There's this nice touch that Juan does in this movie that I don't remember Lynn doing in the previous is if someone's flipped, the camera will
goes with them.
With them. He does it 3 times in that opening Rock Statham fight.
Listen, every time that happened, I moved my head with it.
You got it. It's a 4D experience. But it is weird when you get these martial arts hand-to-hand combats when that didn't happen in the first 4 movies. Hell, it didn't happen in the 5th movie.
Again, it's could have easily felt extremely out of place, but because of how they were done and the motions and everything, it still felt kind of fitting, even if it wasn't because this movie is definitely drastically different from where the franchise started.
Oh, sure. For sure.
But the DNA is still kind of there.
I want to dig into specific fights and scenes later on again, but I was thinking of how we did this episode lined up with last week's Transformers Age of Extinction. Yes. And I think where we are right now in the podcast, right, is without a doubt, these are the 2 most testosterone-driven film franchises we've tackled.
Yeah.
And yet, they're so different.
Well, it's more the way I see it is that Transformers is all the good and bad that comes with extreme masculinity. Whereas this one doesn't really go into the toxic elements as
Too
much.
far. A little. It's a little, and I think they gotten better about it as the films go on. But I also think this franchise has a heart at the center of it.
Right, right. No
And
one's gonna be pulling out Romeo and Juliet clauses.
no, are you kidding me? Dom will beat your ass with a wrench if you tried that on him.
Street rules. We don't care about the laws here.
All right. But yeah, it's so on the line of cheese so often. Like I swear in 6, every 5th word is the word family in that script.
You know, the thing is, these movies are just like, yo, camp? Just drive straight into it.
Go for it. Just go for it. And if you ever get to watching the first one, it's unaware of the camp, which is why the first one's so great. It takes everything so seriously. And then somewhere around 3 or 5, not really 4, but 3 or 5, they realize what it is and they go for it.
Yeah, that's the thing with these franchises. Usually it's like an accidental spark that they didn't see coming. Like I'd say it's something like, I'd say that also happened with Pirates of the Caribbean. Where like the way the initial script was written, they weren't writing Jack Sparrow in that way.
I see.
But like that was the spark that kept the franchise going.
They pivot to keep the franchise alive. One of my favorite moments, and it's kind of a ripoff of what they do in 6, but it's still awesome, is Michelle Rodriguez's fight with, I think that was Ronda Rousey, right?
Yeah, I recognized her from the Entourage movie.
Of course.
Because in that movie, Turtle's subplot is like, yo, Ronda Rousey wants to go on a date with me. And then the guys are like, yo, she's just trying to use you for your business sense. And then he fucks up the date because he's like, he pivots to making it about business. And she's like, yo, I thought you were one of the good guys, but you're just all about business. So then he's like, you know what? Please give me another chance. And she's like, if you could survive a minute in the ring with me, I'll give you another chance.
I will say, again, with the ripoff, is that she is a ripoff of the character from 6, who I wasn't aware was in 6. Gina Carano is in 6. So that's a thing. But it's a really badass fight. I like. I mean,
it's Letty also reminiscent. It's also reminiscent of like the Bond henchmen's.
Yes. There is a when you hit Fast and Furious, the 4th one, there is like this weird parkour free running scene for Brian, and you're like, oh, they're influenced by the James Bondy Bourne movies now, and they dropped that after that movie. But,
you know, from what I've heard, it's interesting because like around the time 4 came out, Universal just could not catch a break in their releases except for that movie. But it seems like the stuff that they played around with in that movie didn't necessarily carry over.
No, 4 is the most serious, with the exception of maybe 1, I think. But there is this ridiculousness of that final action sequence that I think is kept in later on. 4 also starts off with a giant heist and is one of the best action moments in the franchise. I wouldn't be surprised if that spurred the idea of, hey, let's focus on the heists. Because it's really weird when you realize the first one, the climax of the first movie is a heist. Heists were always in the DNA of the Fast and Furious, but it was kind of lost as they shifted away from the Dom character in 2 and 3.
Just for clarity's sake, that was around the time of the Wolfman movie.
Is that the Robert Zemeckis one? That's like motion capture?
The one starring Benicio del Toro.
Oh, I don't even know which one this one is. Wait, hold on. Is that what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of something else now, and I want to double check my facts to make sure it's correct, and I'm pretty sure it's correct. Yeah, the Academy Award-winning film, The Wolfman.
Yeah.
Rebecca Baker and makeup effects supervisor Dave Elzy won the Academy Award for Best Makeup.
And no one saw it, including me. But it was 2010. I was a wee chap.
You're a Wii chap? Oh, I was a Wii chap too. I loved playing the Wii. That was the year of Kirby's Return to Dreamland. That's right after New Super Mario Brothers Wii came out. I was all on the Wii. I don't think Dreamland was that year. I think Dreamland was later that I made that up. Anyways.
So having seen, like,
Go.
you've noted the like camera trick of following the character down,
Yes.
but having seen all the movies back to back recently,
Hmm.
did you notice any directorial like differences other than that?
It's weird talking about the early ones because they're so different. Like the first one thinks it's a serious drama that just happens to have cars. Two is directed by John Singleton. Do you know John Singleton?
It sounds familiar, but no.
He directed Boys in the Hood.
Hmm.
He is the first black man and youngest person ever nominated for Best Director, and then he directs the dumbest Fast and Furious movie. And I love it. I love how dumb it is. And then 3 is when Lin takes over, and I think there's a slickness to how he makes the movies that really stand out. In this one, I found there was a manicness that Juan brings in the especially the fight sequences, where I feel like they were like either playing with speed or like the frame rate changed or something. But I felt a little more like, whoa, watching the action sequences in this one. That was really interesting.
Interesting. One thing I will note about so at the end of this movie, there's a montage celebrating Paul Walker.
Yes.
And like the thing that I noted the most is the color palettes
of the movie or
of like all in the montage when it's like showing earlier movies as opposed to like this one, because like before it was like a stark saturation. The saturation was just so high.
Yes. This one does have like an orange brownish tint to it that the other movies don't have. But you're right in that first one is it's a gritty examination at the life of a criminal and a look at and I'm serious. It's questioning morals and like what it means to be a good guy or a bad guy. And it's I think it thinks it looks at it deeper than it actually does. But with that attempt, you get this much more serious, grounded look at it. And then 2 is ridiculous. 2 is an 80s buddy cop movie. And then Lin makes it a little more slicker and cooler with 3. 4 is like the dark gritty reboot. 5 is when it's fresh. They're in the day stealing vaults
on highways,
as you do. Where else would you find a vault?
Crazy.
Yeah, there is. Does it surprise you that that's not the first montage that this series has?
No, it doesn't.
Fast and Furious 6 starts off with a scene of Brian's son being born, and Vin's like, "Oh, things are gonna be different now," and it cuts to like an opening montage where it goes through all the movies. It's the title name. It shows the names of all the actors, and then as it shows the name, it flips through scenes of them in each movie they've been in. And it ends with this like very dramatic shot of them walking forward in this blinding light as the name of the movie pops up. So this is the second montage going through the history of the films in this franchise.
So we've talked about how the English titles for these movies are ridiculous.
Whoa, where are you going with this?
I should have pulled this up beforehand. But have you heard of like any of the international titles for these films?
I think 5 was like Fast and Furious 5 something Rio. I think I saw that, but other than that, I'm not familiar.
So I'm gonna try to like pull up the names for this. So the Japanese title for for Furious 7 was Wild Speed Sky Mission.
Holy crap. That, oh, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful what they do.
I think that's the that's the and then Sky Mission. Yeah, that seems to be the notable one.
Can we talk about the most notable part of this movie?
Being
Paul Walker,
right.
who shockingly randomly died. I didn't realize it's been like 7, 8 years since he died.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's still recent, but maybe it's just because I was just not in this franchise yet. I do think a part of the box office is that morbid curiosity in the same way Dark Knight was a huge jump from Batman Begins.
Oh, I don't know if it's morbid curiosity. I think it's more celebrational.
Okay, yeah, maybe morbid curiosity was
Because
the wrong term.
morbid curiosity was more for Joker in that movie because people were like, "Oh, he's a method actor. He got so enveloped in this role that it drew him to do that." Whereas this one, it was completely unrelated. It was more
Yeah,
about celebrating him,
you're right.
which
I
is what
apologize.
the
Wrong
movie
term.
does
Wrong term.
rather well.
I found, and I watched this last night at like midnight, so it ended at like 2 a.m. Um, and there's no right way of approaching it, right? But I found that with the rules of this universe so far, as wonderful as that send off is, it doesn't make sense. And that bugs me a little.
How so?
Because at the end of Fast Five, they're like, this is the last one, and then we'll never do another heist. And at the end of 6, they're like, this is the last one, and we'll never do another heist. And so at the end of 7, they're like, this is the last one for Brian, and he'll never do another heist. And I understand the real world thing of this is his last one. That's fine. But with how it's set up, it just it and maybe I'm overthinking.
No. Okay, here's how I explain that. So in the previous movies, they said that with words. That's not what really matters in the Fast and Furious universe.
You're right.
In this one, they said it with the road. He literally left.
You're right.
And then it's like he's on the road where it's like, I'm literally never doing this again. And Dom's on the road, it's like, I'm good, but like if something happens, I'm back.
It was a very touching tribute to Paul Walker, I think. And I think I just kind of started thinking a little too much about it. But
it felt very fitting for this series because it is also very cheesy.
It is. It's I don't like that the scene has become memeified in the recent years.
Why?
I don't know. It because it is such a heartfelt, touching moment that I don't know. It feels like it takes away from it a bit. But I do want to want to bring that up because
well, I'd say it was memeified because of its power.
Oh, see, I don't fully understand memes still, so that's a good point.
Memes tend to happen because people relate or like something stands out.
Is it a? I feel like it's a very recent meme, but has it been a thing since this movie came out?
Yeah, I'm surprised you're only noticing it now because at this point, for me, it's considered a dead meme.
Wow. Okay. But I'd want to bring that because I knew of the meme and them looking at each other through the cars. I noticed in like the first movie and the second movie that there's a lot of moments of the cars next to each other and they're looking at each other and talking, and you lose that
end of Tokyo Drift.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love the end of Tokyo Drift. But they lose that as the races become less of the focus.
Right.
So it is this wonderful around come back circle moment when it's the two of them next to each other, looking at each other, glancing, saying a lot with just looking at each other. That's very nice. That's very nice. Also, just a thing I have with the franchise that I maybe I just missed. Brian's driver's seat is on the right side of his car. All the time. And I don't think they ever mention it, unless there's something about cars I don't understand. But I don't
Wait.
think they ever mention it.
Oh, because he's looking from that window.
But it's not the one. It's literally every movie. He's on the right side of the car.
No. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Because like that's one of those things where like I think it's more of a cheat to make it look better. Because like imagine if he was on that other side and you still have that looking back and forth.
No, it's not that one scene. It's literally every movie.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. But like with those sort of eye lines and like focals, you could cheat a little bit.
When you first watched the Furious 7,
Mhm.
were you surprised to learn that Brian used to be a cop?
No, because that's one thing I knew about the franchise.
Okay. I was like, I'm almost 20 years late to the franchise. I was watching the first Fast and Furious, and when it's revealed he's a cop, I audibly gasped. I felt so betrayed, and I didn't know how to feel about that.
Well, I mean, like at a certain point, he's no longer a cop.
Yeah, but the fact that he started there. All right.
I mean, he found his way to the family. Like, listen, you can't hate on where people came from. It's where they are now that matters.
You know what bothers me about the family?
What bothers you about
And
the
I'm
family?
all for it. It's wonderful. But in Fast and Furious 6, they're like, hey, Letty, we're your family. And she hasn't met like half those characters yet.
Letty is Michelle Rodriguez.
Michelle
right?
Rodriguez.
So this movie establishes that she has amnesia.
No, 6 established. So here's the Letty story. I'm gonna give you the whole story, right?
All right.
First, Fast and Furious, she's dating Dom. They're been close together. That's nice. Dom has to leave. He runs off at the end of 1. She comes back in 4, and they're like doing heists in other countries. And Dom's like, hey, you can't be with me anymore. I gotta run away because I'm wanted. So she comes up with a plan with Brian to try to dig out to be a mole on some underground stuff, so then that she can get Dom free, right?
Oh, so in 4 they're still enemies?
Who?
Brian and Dom.
Yeah, they haven't. So Brian and Dom are like, they respect each other, but they went through some shit at the end of 1. When it's revealed Brian's a cop. In 4, they haven't seen each other since the first one.
So what is 2?
So 2, they wanted Vin Diesel back, but Vin Diesel was like, this script, not good. He said they did, instead of doing the Francis Ford Coppola thing with sequels, they did the 80s movies thing with sequels. So he did not do 2. 2 is just Brian on the run from the cops, and the cops are like, hey, Brian, you do this for us, we'll set you free. You're no longer chained with us. And so Brian's like, all right, I need a partner. I'm gonna get my old friend Roman. Tyrese comes in, and Ludacris is there as just like Brian's connection to cars and stuff.
Oh, that's how Ludacris gets in this franchise?
Ludacris does nearly nothing in that movie, and I'm so happy they brought him back.
He does nearly nothing except for that theme song. All right, that's a big component. I think so.
I apologize. I apologize. I respect that. So yeah, 2 basically has nothing to do with the first one. And then we get to 4, where Dom's off. Michelle Rodriguez is trying to save him. But then Dom gets the news. Hey, Letty's dead. Dom finds out Letty's dead. And so Dom goes back to try to avenge her death. Brian's also trying to avenge her death. And then they become friends again by the end of that movie. Brian also reunites with Mia in the 4th movie. 5th movie, Letty's just not in it. She's dead. Right? Post-credit scene, Eva Mendes from the 2nd movie comes back. She was a cop too. And she goes to The Rock. He's like, hey, Rock, you want to look at this? He's like, well, I don't want to look at this. And she's like, I think you don't want to look at this. She lands a file on his desk. He opens it. It's a picture of Letty. 6, Luke Evans is the villain. He's Shaw's other Shaw, his brother. And The Rock's going after Shaw, and he's like, I need the best crew to help me out. The crew who outsmarted me in Rio and stole the vault. I need them to help me out. And he goes to Dom. He's like, Dom, I think you're gonna look at this. And Dom's like, well, I don't want to do this. And The Rock's like, no, you're gonna look at this. And it's a picture of Letty. So Rock's like, so Dom's like, I gotta rescue Letty. And Letty forgets everything from the car crash. There's a car crash in 4. You think she's killed, but really, she's somehow saved. And so she comes back with no memory.
So you're
She
telling me
regains her memory.
Han's gonna show up in 8?
You don't know. Do you want a spoiler for a future Fast and Furious?
Nah.
Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, in 7 she comes back. Hold up. So there is a delete. I didn't know this. There's a deleted scene in 7.
Mm-hmm.
It bothered me that what's this what's Han's actor's name? I think I know it. I don't want to say it wrong. Song Kang plays Han, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Gal Gadot is Giselle, who shows up in 4, comes back in 5 and 6, and then is killed in 6. Song Kang isn't the actor. What's the fucking Han's actor's name? Sung Kang. Sorry, Sung Kang. So Sung Kang and Gal Gadot finally killed off in 6. And yet their names are in the credits for this movie. And you only see them as pictures. However, turns out Gal Gadot shot scenes that were deleted.
Oh.
Letty goes off and finds the hospital where she was put after the accident. And turns out Gal Gadot brought her to the hospital. And she starts piecing stuff together. And it was cut from the film. So I wanted to bring that up. Where were we? I don't know how we got here.
All right. So that was a huge tangent about the previous plots of the movies because I brought up Letty seems to have amnesia in this one.
Oh yes, I love how. I feel like it would have made sense if they kept the deleted scene, but without it, she just randomly is like, "Hey, I remember everything now."
Yeah.
This franchise, when it gives women cool things to do, they're fucking cool. But they don't always do that, do they?
No. Yeah, there aren't that many moments in this one either.
One of the most badass moments is in 4. In the final, they tease a final heist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's Paul Walker driving, and the car behind him pulls up, and Jordana Brewster, who plays Mia's, driving. I'm like, holy shit, Mia finally is gonna do stuff. And then in 5, she kind of becomes like the techie person who's at home base telling them what to do, which is still kind of cool. But then she just becomes the wife, the worried wife, and she gets nothing to do in 6 and 7. And that's frustrating. Gal Gadot, the sexualization of women is kind of they pull it back as the movies go along. There is a moment for Gal Gadot in the 5th one, but it's kind of like, oh, she's using her sex as a weapon, and that's like, okay, she's kind of outsmarting men. But then in this one, in Furious 7, when it's Natalie Emmanuel, who's what's the hacker's name? What's her name in this one?
Give me
I was gonna say
sec.
Banksy. It's not Banksy. Something along the lines of that.
Ramsey.
As Ramsey, there's a scene of Ramsey coming out of the ocean, all wet, and then Roman and Tej are kind of just ogling her. I'm like, did we need that? You had the whole scene of Roman going, you can't be a hacker. You're hot. We know she's hot. She's gorgeous. You don't need that scene.
I mean, it was nice. I'll say that much.
It was, but it's just unnecessary. I felt this franchise weirdly has been maturing as we go along, and then you just went back on all that. And so
I don't know if that's necessarily going back because, yeah, you do have their commentary, but like you also have Dom chastising them at the exact same time.
He does, and Letty does as well, I think, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, but also like.
And
Elena,
like, yo, the way she was confident about that shit, like, damn, girl, get it.
She's a cool. She doesn't get a lot to do in this movie, but she's a fun presence, and I'm excited to see more of her. But there's also Elena. Do you know Elena?
Elena. Was she the one with Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
Yep. So she's introduced in Fast Five. The Rock's going after the crew, and he's like, "Hey, I want this girl on my team. I feel like she's cool. She's a new cop in Rio. Her husband was killed, and so she joins the force 6 months later to like try to fix and prove that there are good cops around. Her and Dom, both of their love interests have died recently, so they hook up in at the end of 5 and beginning of 6, they're together. And then when Dom sees that Letty's still alive, she's like, "Go after Letty," and she disappears for the rest of 6. She comes back in 7 just to be the Rock's babysitter. Because what else does she do in this movie? And again, when they get to do stuff, it's cool, but they don't always get to do stuff.
Yeah. What else is there? Oh yeah. So speaking of the sexuality of it,
Where are you going?
I saw this movie on FX movie network.
Okay.
And so the MPAA rating for this movie is PG-13.
Yes.
On FX, it is rated TVMA
That's crazy.
for language, violence, and nudity.
What nudity? Is it the one scene?
What I think it ended up being was like that opening scene where they do that first race and you just get shots of the like woman's ass.
I forgot that was a scene. And isn't she like racing Iggy Azalea?
Bruh, like she wasn't racing Iggy Azalea. I think she was just in the audience like, yo, that was good shit. It's like, why are you here?
It's so random. Before I watched this movie, I was looking at the Wikipedia page and starring, like the 10th name in starring was Iggy Azalea. I'm like, what?
Bruh, I saw that scene and I was like, wait, the new classic, that album, what was the song of that? Fancy. Who was the artist? Like I was working backward.
Trying to piece together who it was.
Yeah. So like I literally paused the movie there and did brief internet searches.
I will say part of the rating, I thought it was MA because of the language. One of my favorite things of, I think it starts in 4, is that there's always one fuck in every Fast and Furious movie.
You know, I don't think I heard a fuck in this one. I heard bitch.
That's what I was gonna say. I finished this movie, it was like, you didn't use the word fuck? I Googled it. Seems like they did. I missed it somehow. But they use the fuck really well. Do they? I don't know, but it's like it fits in the scene usually. So I'm disappointed I couldn't find it in this one.
And like the thing about, I didn't notice it as much because we watched Transformers also through FX movie networks. It's funny that both testosterone fueled franchises were on there.
Well, you know, FX, they do great stuff like Atlanta, It's Always Sunny, and you know what goes into that canon of art. You know, Transformers and Fast and Furious.
So like what they do is they do keep the whole movie, but they cut to black every once in a while.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't as noticeable in Transformers because try to notice anything in Transformers.
Really? I thought it was more. I saw Transformers on FX and I thought that was noticeable.
It was noticeable, but it wasn't as distracting because it's also like, sure, might as well.
Okay.
Because like everything else that happens in that movie and how everything's cut together, might as well.
You're so thankful for that moment of reprieve.
But in this one, it was so jarring.
You texted me last night that, hey, there's a cut in the middle of an action sequence.
2 of them. There's like a cut in the middle of the when they scene that was in Reykjavik, I think that was
when they save
Ramsey. Yeah.
Ramsey. Right.
There was like a cut right before the bus was about to go off the edge.
Oh, that's a weird place to put the cut.
Yeah.
And where's the other one?
I think it was in the middle of the passing Ramsey around like a hot potato.
Oh, that was a cool sequence. I forgot that was a sequence.
Yeah.
Because I did I watched this late last night. I was starting to get a little tired during the Ramsey rescue. But I think that's just me being tired at 2 a.m. in the morning. It did go on for a while.
Yo, but the way she held on to that car for dear life in the rescue sequence at the beginning, that was pretty cool.
They really just throw her from car to car in this movie. That first scene, I loved. So I love Tyrese as Roman. Because
what did he? But like, okay, I get he was like a comic relief, but like, what did he add to the team in this one?
He's the double alpha, Pawan. So I look at Fast Five as being the Avengers of the Furious franchise 1 year before the Avengers. I'll point that out. In that they get everyone from all the movies, and so they're like, Roman's the smooth talker. He can talk his way out of anything. Does he fail at talking in that movie? Yes, but
so he's that's the thing. He's touted up to be this like great character who's can like, you know, draw attention, like get out of any situation, but like he fails miserably.
He has the great scene of like, oh, is it your birthday? It's your birthday. Let's sing happy birthday.
Just like acting like the drunk uncle who just like tries to steal the attention at someone else's party.
Props to Tyrese for being able to be the punching bag for these movies. There's a moment in 6 where he says something to The Rock, like kind of an insult thing. And The Rock, stories he improvised this line of like it was like a shut up, you and your giant ass forehead. And then it was improvised, so Tyrese spits out the water he's drinking, unprepared for that line. He's just a punching bag. But I love I mentioned the line when he brings up how ridiculous these movies are getting, and they're like, "All right, you make the plan," and he's like, "This." They're like, "Hey, that's impossible." He's like, "Yeah, it's impossible, so no one will see it coming." And then it's them in their cars talking to each other. It's dark. I'm like, "Are they on a plane? Are they on a fucking plane?" And then the doors open. I'm like, "Yes, goosebumps. Do this shit." And then he's like, I'm not going. I'm sorry, guys.
And they're like, yo, it's your plan. You got to follow through.
And then Tej drives the car out. And then he disappears. He gets lost. And then he comes back with the line I said at the beginning of this podcast. I'm back, bitches.
What I love it with that thing is like, he's like, I'm not coming out. And then there's like someone, was it Paul Walker who did the thing, or who
pulls him out? Who pulls him out of the plane?
Or was it Ludacris?
I think Paul Walker told Ludacris, because Ludacris is the tech person.
That was hilarious when he was just like, I'm sorry, but you're coming. And then just the parachute goes out. He's like, oh no, hell.
He steps on the gas to try to make it cancel out the parachute, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. There's a moment in 6 where early on I'm like, okay, you're doing too much, Tyrese. But now I'm like, no, you need to do too much. It fits. That's one of the things about this movie I love, where we're like, all right, we gotta get the best crew. And it's Tyrese and Tej. You know, Han was cool and was like able to fly around and sneakily do stuff. Gal Gadot was the weapon expert. They're dead. So now you got is technology and Tyrese. Why I love these movies. Oh my God. I feel like there's so much we still haven't talked about also.
You know what? Let's talk. All right, let's go through fight sequences.
Okay. We briefly talk can we can just briefly talk about how badass the Jason Statham introduction is.
Yeah.
He's just walking through the building.
Where like it's a huge close up and then just pull out where great. And the way it was shot, where it just had those like all those camera movements, it was like, yo, you know what? This is the type of like cheesy B movie garbage that this movie needs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think after that is the least interesting race I've seen in any of these movies, I'll be honest.
So it was low stakes.
Yeah.
But I do like how there was that sort of tension with the revolution, the RPM, where it was more about restraint than just going at it.
Okay.
That's what I liked about it.
That's fair.
Um,
We have
I was about to try to tie it into a theme, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. Can
family.
you try
It's
to
family.
figure it
It's
out?
always family.
Yeah, but like obviously that it was such a big part of that race where like just holding back a little bit because you know that's going to happen. And it's like, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I actually do not. I don't remember much about
So
that race.
like before the race starts, Dom's like, yo, his car is going to explode once it goes to that thing. Keep your RPM below 9 or 10.
Hmm.
And like there's like a lot of cuts to insert shots looking at the RPM as it's like about to hit it, and then she shifts the gear to like lower it again.
Is that not just tension building? There could be argument that the first movie teases this more than any of the others of Dom being very can get very hot headed. Part of why Dom's by Paul Walker's spying on Dom in the first one is because he has this history. Someone got like yelled at him at a race, and so he beats him up with a wrench, and then is sent to jail for years.
So
And
that's just his weapon of choice.
It is. Because later on, I think the first one, there's a moment where like, is he gonna kill this dude to a pulp? And then again, that happens with The Rock in Fast 5. And so maybe it is that kind of like go full out, but don't go full out. Because he always brings up the fact that he what's it?
So it's more like tying back into his character growth.
Kind of, and him teaching it to her, maybe.
I could see that.
Because he's always about live or die, right? He's always about that.
Listen, in my memory, I have this movie and the second half of Tokyo Drift.
But I think he says it in this one too. I don't know. But yeah, I think the next action sequence we touched on is The Rock and Jason Statham.
Right.
I hope Hobbs and Shaw is just that sequence for 1 hour.
Again, another thing that this movie is really good at is keeping you informed on what's happening during these chaotic fight sequences. Because yes, there's a lot of motion, including with the camera, but you still know what's going on.
Yeah, one of the it's never focused on just one fight. In this one, it branches out into these mini fights that collectively build into this war. And so you do have Brian going after Ramsey,
yes.
Ramsey, and then you have like Statham's chasing Vin Diesel, and then Tej is on the side trying to make sure everyone's okay, and then it jumps around through the action storylines very well.
And like also when they're about to insert a new weapon into the fight, like you get the insert shot of it. It's like, oh, this element's gonna come into play. So you get that bit of hype.
Yeah,
where it's like, ooh,
it teases stuff along and then boom, pays off.
Yeah,
it's very nice. That final sequence, like,
well, before we get into that, one sequence that I want to make note of that like could easily go unmentioned, but like I really liked how they handled it was the one where Paul Walker was going to the satellite and like all the guards come in with the guns and like he's hiding behind the thing and then he finds that crate and just slides across it.
That's a fun moment.
It's like more wheels because this movie's about wheels.
What else would you use? I thought you were bringing up the psych out at the beginning when he's like, all right, I'm gonna do it, and he's in a minivan
and then he just pulls up like 2 feet.
That's hilarious. I do think he just let a random lady take his baby. There's no, are you the teacher? And if she was the teacher, why was she out front? Why didn't he?
I feel like that's one of those things where he knew she was the teacher, and it's like
Yeah.
you got to have someone out front just in case things go
Maybe,
wrong or whatever.
I
Yeah.
guess. But I found that very funny. Um, yeah, it's I'm not the Brian stuff. I feel like is so sudden, but I also will not. I can't fault them because that's just how the world happened, you know. And I think it is very well done what they do.
Also, I know we keep jumping back and forth, but like I need to
Sure,
bring up one more thing about Tokyo Drift.
go.
So like there's the part in this movie where they copy and paste that scene from the ending of Tokyo Drift.
Yes,
And then afterward there's a new scene where they're talking and you could tell just by looking at that actor's face he is a lot older.
he is so old now. No offense to him, he's so much older. And by the logic of the movie, he's still like a high schooler. He's a high schooler in Tokyo Drift, which is one of my problems with that movie. We'll get to it some other time. But he's a high schooler looking like he's 53.
Damn.
Oh,
I mean, just that the length of that movie really did a number on him.
he being the Drift King does a lot to you. Does Han not have a family outside of the family? I'm trying to remember because I remember he was like kind of a
He was
lone
the
wolf
cousin.
in 3.
He was the no. He was related to the
Was he related to the original Drift King?
yeah.
Oh, okay, so why
Like
don't
they
they
were
want his
cousins.
body?
Well,
Why don't
because
want
they
his-
excommunicated him.
Did they? They excommunicated the cousin, not Han. I don't think Han's related to him.
No. Wait, which cousin are you talking about?
I thought when you said cousin, you meant the main villain in 3.
No. What I'm saying is the main villain is like the son of the leader of the Yakuza.
Yeah.
And like Han was that dude's cousin. That's why he was working with him.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And like he was excommunicated because he was stealing money.
I see. Han's cool.
Yeah.
Did you know they retconned Han to have like a prequel movie? Justin Lin had like a 2003 indie drama, and the same actor plays a character named Han. And so they basically retconned it to be like that's him before Fast and Furious.
What's that movie called?
Better Luck Tomorrow, I think. Han, Better Luck. Yeah, Better Luck Tomorrow. Subsequently, retconned to be about Han.
Cool.
MC Hammer's a credited producer of this movie.
Listen, the soundtrack goes off.
The director said, out of desperation, I called up MC Hammer because he had read the script and liked it. 2 hours later, he wired the money we needed into a bank account and saved us.
Yo, MC's the plug. He's the plug.
I'm shocked he hasn't had a cameo in these movies yet. They have all the musicians in these movies.
Was Flo Rida in this one?
Was he?
No, I'm asking because like he was in the song.
I don't think
Was
so.
Sage the Gemini?
They toss random musicians to have cameos in these movies all the time. So I don't think he did.
Speaking of that song, I found it funny how they were like, we can't put the original version of this song in the movie. It's too trashy. They had a remix of it.
Right.
In the tower scene, like in the introduction of that.
So we haven't talked much about the tower scenes.
Listen, I love it so much.
I love it. We talk about Roman and his awesomeness. We talk about Michelle Rodriguez and her badassery. When did Tej learn how to fight? And no one comments on it.
But like, it's just quick motions where it's like, it's pretty simple. If you know
He's a tech dude.
It's pretty simple.
All right. Can we talk about how Dom just picks up a car and is the jack?
And like the thing is, it's not just any car. It's a supercar that could go 0 to 60 in like nothing.
Oh my god. And he just lifts it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess to get those speeds that quickly, you would need a light frame and everything.
Wait, are we talking about? I'm talking about when Brian's going under the car and he
Yeah,
literally.
that
Okay,
car,
you're
because
saying
that
it's a
car
light
is
because. Oh, I see.
because it has those top speeds that go really high.
I see. I see. I thought we were talking about how it was able to fly in the air now, which we may or may not briefly touch on how incredible it is.
Listen, the thing that got me was like no brakes.
No, because you
No
forget for a sec.
brakes.
You forget for a sec. There's 3 buildings, and it's like they're doing it. They're doing it.
Like they go through that first, they make that first jump. It's like, yo, and then they're like going to the second one and say, yo.
They roll out of the car.
And then like as soon as the car is about to go for the throw on, you just go, yo.
That's literally
All I'm saying is it's hype as fuck.
That's every. I wish I had that experience of watching this in a movie theater.
It went off.
I'm so happy that I'm caught up for when Fast 9 comes out, because I will be there day one. My God, we haven't even talked about Kurt Russell yet.
Oh yeah, Mr. Nobody.
He's pretty badass.
That reminds me. It's gonna save that for later.
Ooh, write that down. But I was ready for him to turn out to be evil, which they did in 6 with Gina Carano. Surprise, surprise, she turns out to be a badass. An ass, not badass, an ass. But Kurt Russell is really fun, and I love when he finally gets to shoot stuff. He kind of goes into rage mode.
You know, speaking of that whole aspect of the movie, it's funny you brought up The Dark Knight earlier.
Did I? Go on.
In relation to Paul Walker and like,
oh yeah.
Where it's more apt is this thing of God's eye.
And always watching.
Where it's like you look through everyone's cameras and like audio feeds. And like I feel like it's used in this movie as a plot convenience.
Yes.
Has to be like, you know what? That's why they know where they are. That's why that's happening. It doesn't really go into the actual like machinations or the implications of it.
Yeah. Is this what year did Ed Snowden all that stuff happen?
Let me see.
Because I feel like it's probably relatively around the same time. Maybe the script was influenced
2013.
by it. Yeah, and this was supposed to come out 2014, so they were working on it in 2013. Maybe there was some connection. You're gonna hate this. I have to run to the bathroom, so I'd like you to. I haven't done this in weeks. Can you vamp while you give me like a quick? Thank you.
All right. So let's talk about Sage, the Gemini. I think that's his name, right? Sage the Gemini. Well known for this song "Going Down for Real" with Flo Rida, but more importantly, he's known for Gas Pedal. Listen, everyone hated on it when it came out. It was on the radio, but like the people who were like critics hated on it, they were wrong. Okay, that song is straight fire. Hank Green, notable YouTubist and TikTok person, brought it back into the cultural consciousness, where that first couplet is fire. Slow down, grab the wall, wiggle like you're trying to make your ass fall off. Like, for a song to give, like a lot of rap songs give dance instructions, but like that one's the most direct and the strongest, I'd say, because it's not telling you to. It is telling you to wiggle your ass, but it's not telling you exactly how to do it. It's giving you a simile where it's like you can interpret that how you'd wish. So like if you want to just jiggle up and down, go for it. If you want to go side to side, go for it. If you're going to go in all directions, bruh, it's up to you.
I'm back, bitches.
You're going to have fun with that segment.
I forgot to take off my wireless earbuds, so I heard it. Oh, that's fun. What else do we want to talk about in this movie?
What?
How did Mia know the gender of the baby already?
I mean, I assume it was that she probably went to a hospital at some point.
All right.
And like, you know what? Good on this movie for not doing a stupid gender reveal party.
Come on, don't steal my ideas, okay? I want to quote one more great Tyrese line. I don't know about y'all. He looks at the watch, but I wasn't planning on dying today. He has like a good 5 seconds of looking at the watch to figure out,
is this the day where I planned on dying?
Oh, you know, we haven't talked about
What?
the wrench fight.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Well, you know what? Let's talk overall about the chemistry between Dom and Shaw.
Okay.
So like there's that first moment where they're like both in the cars, like going head to head, and like you see both of their dashes and like their displays and everything. And I'm like, oh, this is setting up that same theme that was in Skyfall, where it's like the old techniques versus the new technique and old technology being superior.
There is a line about like in 1 or 4 about Dom finally using more modern car parts. So I guess there's a bit of that.
One thing, one line that I do want to make note of in regard to that was in the Tokyo Drift air section of this movie, where like he's talking with that dude, where he's like, y'all didn't know American Muscle could drift like that.
There really isn't much drifting in these movies after 3, is there?
Well, because that is where the culture is mostly in terms of drifting.
Wait, do you know how they tease Tokyo Drift at the end of 4 and 5? So Han has a cameo in 4, right? He's helping them with a heist in the opening. And then Dom's like, oh, what are you going to do after this, Han? And Han's like,
what are you going to do after this, Han?
I was like, I don't know. I always wanted to go to Tokyo. And then 5 happens. And at the end of 5, there's the montage scene where everyone's is, and he and Gal Gadot are in the car. They're happy together. And she's like, I thought you always wanted to go to Tokyo. And he goes, Tokyo can wait. And at the end of 6, he's like, yeah, I think I'm finally going to go to Tokyo. I have some stuff I need to do. And then the post-credit scene of him dying. And I know it's not in this movie, but goddamn, Gal Gadot and Sung Kang are so good together. Han and Giselle are a great pairing.
You know what? I feel like you know what?
I don't know what.
Okay, sorry. I've been going back and forth whether to bring this up later or not, but it's not a change to this movie. It's a change to the previous movie. So I'm just going to bring it up now.
Go on.
So like in this movie, Tyrese is like, looks at his watch. Is like, today's not my day to die. And he's like, I'm not going to Japan yet, because he knows when he goes there, that's his day to die.
Oh, God. It is badass in this movie when it cuts to Dom's side of the phone call with Statham. I was like, yeah. So 6 has the post-credit scene of Statham killing Han, And then he walks away from the car, pulls out a phone and calls, and it goes, Dominic Toretto, you don't know who I am, but you will. And so you get the other side of it this time.
Hmm. I feel like all right, you brought it up, but we didn't actually talk about it.
Which,
The wrench fight on the
yes.
in the parking lot.
Well, the first time they are in the cars looking at each other, you're like, are they going to ram into each other? And they did.
Well, of course they did.
They
You got to play chicken.
did.
You got to play chicken. But
And
neither of them
so-
back down. So like neither of them are chicken, except Jason Statham is, because he got his chassis reinforced. Weak move.
What?
So you saw the damage done to Dom's car as opposed to his, right?
Yes.
It's because he added extra
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah, yes.
protection to that area. Because he knew it was gonna happen. But like, that's weak sauce right there.
It is. So then it happens again where they're on the top of this parking lot looking at each other. And you're like, are you going to do it again? I forget, do they? They don't, right? Because
They
that's when they
don't.
get out of the cars. And then Vin pulls out a wrench. No.
No, he
Statham pulls
pulls-
it out first.
Oh, well, no, they do it again, because there's that moment where like this time Dom got like his suspension
Yes.
much
it
stronger,
goes
so
up.
he goes above it, and then he just like shoots below. That was so badass.
And
You know,
then,
like he just has the sawed-off shotgun and he aims it like at his like
you're right.
floor, and then it goes through.
Holy crap. And then they get out of their cars. Statham pulls out a wrench. And then you think Dom's going to use a gun. But no. He plays fair. And he pulls out
Nah,
two
street fight.
wrenches. Not one, two wrenches.
And then Statham just pulls out a stray piece of metal from his broken car.
And they fucking fight with them. It's the coolest shit. I'm getting goosebumps thinking of that scene because of how great it is.
Crazy.
Oh. And then that's being cut with them tossing Ramsey around. And then she gets into Michelle Rodriguez's car and she's like, where do we go after this? And then Michelle Rodriguez is like, where is it?
Yeah, Han's not here to save us.
Sadly. And then we get the fake out of Dom's death and we get the flashbacks to their wedding.
Oh yeah, where she's like, I remember.
And then she's like, why didn't you tell me we were married? And then I couldn't even hear what Dom says after that.
That's a shame, because that is such a great line.
What did he say?
It was something along the lines of, because you can't tell someone they love you.
Oh. See, this is why this franchise is so great. As ridiculous as it gets down to the truth of
Like-
human nature.
You know what? Considering how stupid this franchise is, that line is actually very poetic.
It is. That's why these movies are so great, because there is heart and they mean well and they accomplish what they need to.
Like, yo, I sat there for a minute. I was like, damn, that's good. Like,
It is
that's
It is good.
I'm sorry if I'm a little less analytical for this
You're
movie.
fine. What are we gonna do with this movie?
I'm just gushing and being like, yo, that was crazy. for
This is one of the few movies where, because most of these join the list because of the pedigree of the previous films, but
Right.
so few of them sustain that quality and just the pure fun. And this does it. It's fun. There's a bit of feels, and you come back feeling smarter, wiser, ripened.
So so before I saw this movie again, I was trying to think. I thought like I did see Fast 8 and Fate in theaters, but then like I was thinking about all the scenes I remember. It's like, wait, all those happened in 7. Did I No, I didn't see 8. And I remember after seeing this movie, I was like, now I remember why I didn't see 8, because I was like, how the hell are they going to top this? They can't. They can't. I'm not even going to bother.
Well, do you mind if I describe a little about 8?
Go ahead.
Because I was intrigued about how much of this movie was changed because of Paul Walker, and shockingly, they said, no, we kind of intended for Brian to move toward this more domestic life. We just kind of had to force the character to commit to it because of circumstances. And so they were like, yeah, we were like, do we even do a sequel? We only do a sequel if there's a good idea to test these characters. And so the writer's like, I don't even know
Well,
the
I
writer's.
remember the trailer where it's like Dom is evil now.
Yes. He said, what if Dom's evil? What if their one anchor of the family is no longer there? How does that affect them? And that's why they made 8. Let's just get the name of the writer who did a number of these movies. I don't know off the top of my head.
I
And
also love this franchise because like it's goofy enough to just decide like, oh, this character is evil now.
yeah, they did
Like
that.
a Saturday morning cartoon sort of thing where it's like, this is
That's the beauty of these movies. So this film was written by Chris Morgan, who took over and has written all of them since 3, I believe. Yeah, Tokyo Drift all the way to Hobbs and Shaw he wrote. Is he not doing 9? Who wrote 9?
What is 9 called?
F9.
9.
Huh. There's a new writer for F9. That's interesting.
I like the colors on the poster with the smoke. It's nice.
I don't know. You can't watch that trailer until you watch 8. I'm gonna say that. Or maybe even you have to watch all the movies because the trailer to 9 has a moment that is beautiful.
You know what? I don't think I'll watch the trailer after I watch 9.
Cool. God, is 9 even gonna come out in theaters?
Oh, no.
We were supposed to have 9 in May, last May or April.
That's gonna suck. I have a feeling it won't.
It won't. I just saw well they released the new teaser for the new Spider-Man. They're like, it will open in December, only in theaters. I'm like, are you sure about that? Are we sure about that?
No, they're gonna do that like Disney thing where it's like pay $50 if you want to see it 2 months ahead of it,
But
just being free.
It's not a Disney movie, it's a Sony movie.
Oh, right.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to discuss about Furious 7? Because I have one last tidbit I'd like to throw in.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson's kid was cool.
Why was she? Is that Rock's actual daughter?
I don't know.
Because it's either that or they hoped that would humanize the character, which I don't want him to be more human. All right.
I just like that moment where she was like, my dad said he kicked your ass.
Oh, that's funny. All right. So I would like to bring one last thing because I remember these headlines from way back when this movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, did that actually happen? It did. So this is from Variety, March 24th, 2015 by Ramin Setude. I feel like I mispronounced that. I apologize. Headline, Vin Diesel, Furious 7 will win Best Picture at the Oscars.
Oh, right. He said that.
Universal is going to have the biggest movie in history with this movie, Diesel said in a lengthy interview with Variety for this week's cover story. It will probably win Best Picture at the Oscars unless the Oscars don't want to be relevant ever. Diesel took a breath before offering his prediction for a second time. This will win Best Picture, Diesel said. There is nothing that will ever come close to the power of this thing. And so, Pawan, do you think this movie won Best Picture?
Oh, I know it didn't.
I genuinely think this movie should have an Oscar. I think
you know why? Because the Oscars aren't relevant, and this proved it.
I do think this movie should have an Oscar for Best Original Song. The nominees that year were 50 Shades of Grey, Racing Extinction. Yeah, I don't know. Earned it. I don't know what Racing
That was one of the first like big weekend songs, so I get it. I get
Simple
it.
song number 3 from the movie Youth, which is like a Oscar-y movie. The Hunting Ground Till It Happens to You by Lady Gaga. And it
I
was
assume
won
that
by,
one. Oh,
it
didn't?
should have won. This award was won by Writings on the Wall from Spectre, Jimmy Napes, and Sam Smith.
See, that's hard because like it's not the best Bond song, but it's still a Bond song.
I remember watching it. That's only the second or third Bond song to ever win the Oscar. I remember watching that ceremony and being mad that he won over Gaga because his song sucks.
They.
Sorry. Oh, it's Sam Smith. I apologize. That's my fault. I apologize. But yeah, I did not like their song. And
It's a lot more slow tempo. It's tempo.
Slow tempo.
It's
As
a
it
slow
travels
tempo.
along the head, like the sweat on the rock's head in these movies. It slowly goes across the tempo.
Like, you know, once in a while the Bond movies are like, let's start with a ballad. Like, it's a choice. It's a choice. I'll give them that. It's a choice.
They did that with Skyfall, and it's a banger of a ballad.
Yeah. But
So, yeah.
like, actually, is that a ballad?
I would say that's a ballad.
Mm,
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
Because like it feels a little too bombastic and not as much about love to be a ballad.
You know what? Check out the next episode of Billion Dollar Music Club, where we'll discuss the music of Skyfall, a film we talked about already,
And of which we talked about the song for as well, probably.
So yeah, I'm really disappointed they didn't win that Oscar. But let's look at what it was nominated for Best Picture.
Actually, you were upset that this song didn't win that Oscar?
Yeah, I think it should.
Okay, you're thinking of the chorus. Do you remember Wiz Khalifa's verses?
How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Yes.
No.
That's the one time the Globes did something right. They nominated the song.
I mean, nomination, sure. But like, no, it shouldn't win.
This should have won.
Like, I could meme it and be like, yeah, it's the best thing. Like, no, Wiz Khalifa's verses aren't good.
I think that song was nominated for Song of the Year, not Record of the Year, Song of the Year for the songwriting.
Where it's like, where like his first verse just starts, damn, who knew the planes that we flew, all the things we've been through.
I don't see what's wrong. I didn't know they asked them to write that as a tribute for Paul Walker. That's a nice touch.
From the story I heard, they had like Universal or whoever was doing the album for this had like a competition where it's like come up among whatever songwriters they knew, come up with like the best chorus for this sort of scenario. And Charlie Puth won that competition. And like before that, he was a jingle artist. Like the commercial jingles and stuff like that.
Is he the one in that Subway commercial right now?
I don't know which one you're talking about.
There's a Subway commercial going on right now where it's they're like bringing back the $5 footlong jingle, and it's a pop star playing on his piano doing the $5 footlong song.
It might be him.
Maybe.
I'm not a fan of his discography.
That's fair.
Such as his such as like one of the least sexy songs that exists. Marvin Gaye and Get It On, where he makes it a doo-wop track.
Whoa. Not what I expected.
And it's just not, and like it's a duet with Meghan Trainor.
Huh. Not the duo I think would do a doo-wop song. I'll be honest. All right, so I wanted to bring up the Oscars, and we're going to look at the Best Picture nominees. I don't think it should have won Best Picture, but could it have been nominated over some of these other movies? Let's see. You may have not seen any of these movies, but that's fine. We'll discuss. Best Picture that year was won by Spotlight.
Yeah.
You can't argue that, right?
Yeah.
Nominees that year: The Big Short, Bridge of Spies, Brooklyn.
Oh, I know your feelings of The Bridge of Spies.
Yep. Brooklyn, Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, The Revenant, Room.
That's a pretty stacked list.
Yeah, The Revenant's the only one I haven't seen. Bridge of Spies is the one I'd take out for Furious 7.
The Revenant was a bit too long.
Hmm.
I feel like maybe that's one movie that I might have to revisit at some point, but like it was a little boring in patches. But one thing that I really liked about that movie was the lighting. How they managed to, like, they didn't have spotlights or anything. That was all natural lighting.
It's Chivo.
That's crazy.
Emmanuel Lubezki. That's his third consecutive Best Cinematography Oscar.
Like, that was crazy.
He's
that
one of
they
the best.
managed to do that. Because like nothing looked underlit or anything like that.
I think
the other movies. I haven't seen Room.
Room's incredible.
What was
Big
the other
Short?
ones?
You're not a Big Short fan, right?
So I wasn't for a while, but then that was because after seeing Vice, that tainted my opinion of The Big Short so much. But then like going back on it to The Big Short. So my problem with Vice is that it very much talks down to its audience. And like when I was thinking back on the inserts for The Big Short where they're explaining things, I was thinking like maybe that was also a bit talk downy, like the way that there was that one sequence where they're like, I don't know how else to make you interested in this other than having Margot Robbie in a bath.
Yeah. There's a bit of dismissiveness to it. She's like, because at the end of that scene, she's like, "Ah, fuck off." But I also like that movie does get you to know what you need to know in the moment very well.
But like, it also feels like what I like about that is that there is an element of like they're bringing you along with them. Like, we know this is dense stuff, so we're gonna bring you with us and like keep you up to speed. Whereas with Vice, it's not that complicated, but like it just talks down to you so heavily, especially that ending.
Yeah.
My God, I hated it so much.
Yeah, I'm not a big Vice person. We don't need to sit too long on these movies, but yeah, Big Short, Bridge of Spies, Brooklyn, Mad Max, Fury Road, The Martian.
Brooklyn was Saoirse Ronan, right?
Yep, Saoirse Ronan.
That movie was okay.
What are you gonna say? What are you gonna say?
It was okay.
I fucking love Brooklyn. Brooklyn's a delight. It's a gem. Saoirse's incredible.
But yeah, you know what? Toss in Furious 7. Like, add an extra spot. It deserves it.
I think Mad Max took all the driving prestige away. And they're like, we can't do two driving movies.
You know what? That's tough.
What?
Do I think this movie's better than Mad Max?
Oh, hold on. I love this movie. Don't even pretend like there's a competition.
Well, okay, so in terms of like storytelling and like the point of the movie, sure, of course, Mad Max Fury Road. But like in terms of sheer spectacle, I don't know. I think it's closer than you think.
Hold on. This movie doesn't have a guitarist who shoots fire out of the guitar, and then the guitar is used as a weapon.
But it has cars parachuting out of planes.
Right. I think this is the bigger spectacle of the two, obviously. I think Miller is just so precise with how he directs that movie.
Right.
Oh, this one.
There's a precision to this too.
I think there's a little more ambitious. In that it not Fury Road, so much of it is practical, but in what it's trying to do, the scope, the scale, that it feels like a bigger achievement at times.
What I really love about this movie is that even though it's a big blockbuster franchise, it still feels distinct.
Yes.
And within its own like series, and that's semi-cohesive.
Yes. I'm shocked that these movies don't blend together as one, the Fast and Furious movies, when I look back at them. There's enough of both each movie where I'm like, this is this one, this happens, and there's a feel to it. I think a lot of that is the location of these later ones, because 5 is in Rio, 6 is in London. This one is all around the world, isn't it?
It's in Los Angeles. It's
Dubai,
in Reykjavik, Dubai. Dubai. Just Dubai, man. Dubai. And
Well,
speaking of Dubai, at the end of the credits, there's like a thing that's like visit Dubai.
wait, I thought you were going to say the thing at the end of every Fast and Furious when it's like, these stunts were done by professionals. Don't do these stunts at home.
No, but like there was actually like a tourism thing.
Really?
Yeah, for Dubai.
Wow.
It's
That's why they
like
filmed in Dubai.
come visit our country where you could
How
see
much-
a car go through one building into another skyscraper into a third skyscraper.
How much did this make? I'm not even going to do it. All right. So I think that's about it. Our conversation about Furious 7, right?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Very great movie. And yet, it's not perfect.
I mean, what can be?
Nothing's perfect. And so, Pawan, I think,
Not without
should-
our help, at least.
yeah. All right. What? You think we're making this podcast for fun?
No,
We're trying
here,
to educate you.
We're here to make things better.
Yeah. Pawan, how would you make Furious 7 better?
All right. So there's a line at one point where Dom says, "This time it ain't just about being fast." I'm just like, but where's the furious?
Yes. Yes.
So you can have two options with that. You could include in that line. It's like, this time it's not just about, this time it ain't just about being fast. It's about being furious. Or
Sure.
or towards the end, you could do a pun where it's like this ragtag group is going up against this huge agency that has like this spyware that can see them wherever, where it's like a Seven Samurai reference where it's like, damn, some kind of Seven Samurai. Nah, I ain't a samurai, but I damn sure am furious.
I think I read that James Wan did cite Seven Samurai as an influence for this movie.
So you could bring that in there.
Sure, the title line.
And then another change I'd like is we talked about the song "See You Again" and how it is very much an instrumental piece of this movie. But you know what it's missing?
What?
A Ludaverse.
Damn.
We need a remix of it that comes in, that when the title, like when the credits start rolling, where he would be throwing some bars that are completely unrelated to that song, but it's just about how cool his friend Paul Walker is.
Yeah, you got a couple bars for me?
I don't. Sorry.
Damn. Okay, that's fine.
But the other thing, so three. So Kurt Russell's character is named Mr. Nobody.
He is.
There's a film titled Mr. Nobody.
Which movie's Mr. Nobody?
It stars Jared Leto as someone who, it's supposed to be like philosophical in terms of like, oh, he's representative of the everyman, so he could live all these different types of lives.
Okay.
So like, you know what? Let's just tie that movie into this one where like Kurt Russell has a completely different appearance and different vibe in every scene he's in.
Sure.
Because he is no singular entity.
He is not.
He's Mr. Nobody.
Okay.
So those are my improvements.
There's your improvements. I've got an improvement for you.
Okay,
Right.
what you got?
So it turns out, rightfully so, we're both kind of annoyed that there's no title line in these movies.
Right.
And you would think, what better movie franchise to have title lines than the Fast and the Furious? So I started thinking, what can you do for the title lines? Right. Now, Pwan, I've mentioned I love these movies now. I have 3 great loves now from the pandemic days. Hats, Fast and Furious, and Taylor Swift. And so we're not taking away See You Again. See You Again still plays at the end, right? But you know how in credits how one song ends and then another starts?
Wait, so you're telling me for the franchise that's known for its diversity, including in its songs,
Yes.
you're going to bring in the one act who got huge during her like career because she's like the approachable blonde-haired white girl.
Pawan, I'm not done. You thought I was done? There's more elements to this, okay?
Sorry, I just
Step
felt
off.
that needed to be noted.
That's a fair point. All right. So we do have Tay Tay.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote the song, co-wrote it with someone. Pawan, I'm shocked you didn't bring this up. Because in the Avengers episode, you loved bringing up that Jeremy Renner has a music career. You know who else has a music career now?
From this franchise?
Yes.
Well, I mean, there's Ludacris, of course.
Wait, are you unaware of this?
Wait, yeah, Vin Diesel. Yeah.
Vin Diesel does music.
But he only has one song so far. So, like,
in the current real world, but in this alternate universe, we're kickstarting that career. All right.
And you know what?
Yes, 2 songs.
Okay, one reason why I'll note that Jeremy Renner is a lot more interesting in his music career than Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel's got the auto-tune and everything working in his favor, whereas Jeremy Renner's like, no, I'm going to carry it with the strength of my solo performance.
Well, we're going to have Vin Diesel singing a song written by him and Taylor Swift. All right.
Oh, he's bringing out the guitar.
I'm doing it again. I didn't think I'd do it this soon. Can you hear it?
Yep.
Can you hear me as well?
Yes.
Well, when I'm playing, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, I'm just playing random stuff now. All right. There's a part of me like, am I really doing this now? I'm doing it. And so this is the new Fast and Furious song from Taylor Swift and Vin Diesel. This is sung by Vin Diesel from Dom's point of view. Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's the new Taylor Swift.
Is this during that scene where they go their separate ways?
Oh, no. This is, so See You Again is still there. Mm-hmm. Plays through the credits. And then when that ends, this is the follow-up song after it. For the rest of the credits. All right. This is the Fast and Furious song by Taylor Swift sung by Vin Diesel. We're driving down the road. How is it that you're so slow? Looks like someone has forgotten to hit the NOS. Yeah, we're so cool. Go so fast we disappear. With our family, there's no way that we can lose. How does the song go? Wait.
I just want to know you better know. That one?
No, that's not the song.
Damn it, what song are you doing?
I don't know how you think you'll beat us. We're the best, we're the fast and furious. Yeah, we stole a giant vault and made our cars fly. Bought a plane 'cause we're fast and furious.
What song was that?
Fearless.
I haven't heard that one.
I changed fearless into furious. Did I forget how the song goes? Yes. I don't think I did the verse right at all. So for once, maybe we did not fix this. I did not fix this.
All right. So we've given our opinions. But y'all ain't here for that. If you've stayed or like skipped all the way to this point, you're not here for opinions. No, you're here for cold, hard facts.
Cold, hard facts.
As opposed to the dry heat desert that is in Simpson's background.
Yeah, I had it paused on the title and I hit the controller and it left. And so I'm trying to see if I can find the title again because it's very important that we have the correct title. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Oh, fuck. Did I go too far back?
All right, let's just watch Miss Simpson watch this movie.
Directed by James Wan. Furious 7.
There we go. Okay.
So now that we know the title.
Please don't DMCA us, Universal.
Oh, Universal or Taylor Swift. So now we are going to rank this movie based off our previous films. Why am I not?
Right.
Let me share. How
He
here
is
share
pulling
screen.
up the list.
All right. So, Pawan, as we do every week,
Heads.
I was listening to our old episodes. The very first time we did this, you did tails, and ever since then, you've done heads.
Yeah,
So you're doing.
heads.
All right, we're flipping the coin, and it lands on tails. Wow. So now let's see. Last week's episode was
Last week's episode was Transformers: Age of Extinction.
all right.
So, Miss Simpson, is this movie better than Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest, or worse than Transformers: Age of Extinction?
Pawan, I had a thought about how I was going to rank this movie, but then based on our discussion, I have to adjust. So it doesn't play too much into this current part, but yeah, better than both of those movies.
Is this film better or worse than Marvel's The Avengers?
I was not expecting this. Better than the Avengers.
Is this film better or worse than Frozen?
I was not expecting this. Better than Frozen.
Is this film better or worse than Titanic?
Pawan, how long is Titanic?
3.5 hours, I
Fuck
think.
Titanic. This is better than Titanic.
Is this film better or worse than Lord of the Rings: Return of the King?
Pawan, how long is Return of the King?
3.5 hours.
I wasn't ready for this. This is better than Return of the King. I didn't know we were going to do this.
At number 2, we have Furious 7.
Wow.
So we have our top 3 nailed down.
The top 3 and what, bottom 4?
Yep.
So let's go through the list one by one. At number 47, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides.
At number 46, Alice in Wonderland.
45, Toy Story 3.
44, Avatar.
41, Transformers Dark of the Moon.
38, Transformers: Age of Extinction.
37, Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest.
Number 34, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
33, The Dark Knight Rises.
32, The Dark Knight.
31, Marvel's The Avengers.
28, The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey.
27, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
26, Jurassic Park.
25, Iron Man 3.
24, Frozen.
19, Titanic.
Tied at 21 is Dr. Seuss's
Damn
How
it,
the
I
Grinch Stole
forgot that.
Christmas.
Let's go back. 24, Frozen.
Tied at number 21, Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
19, Titanic.
Number 3, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
The new edition at number 2, Furious 7.
And at 1 is Skyfall.
Pawan, I didn't realize that was going to happen. That blows my mind.
You know, as soon as it beat Frozen, I knew, because from the way from your opinions of these movies that are in 3rd and 19th place, it's starting to feel like you hate these movies.
I'll be honest. Generally, this is not me doing bit. I'm not giant on the Lord of the Rings movies. They're fun. They're great. They're terrific. They're incredible. But I personally, I'm not invested into them.
Fair. But it's one of those things where you have to acknowledge how great it is.
Oh yeah.
Else.
Oh yeah. Scientifically, it's the 3rd greatest film we've seen so far.
Of course, yes.
Of these movies. But I was not ready for Furious 7 to be number 2.
And I am so glad that we're filling this out sooner rather than later. Because I did not, no spoilers, but I did not want the last few movies being at the top.
Yep. That would have been an issue. So, wow. What a list. So thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the $1 Billion Movie Club. Remember to follow us on the iTunes, the Spotifys, the Google Play Musics. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that like button.
Hit the notification. Ring that bell.
Ring it. Ring a ring ring. If I were a bell, I go ding dong ding dong ding. Guys and dolls, Frank Loser.
Yo, bars, I guess.
Aluda. Thanks as always to Max Lismacchio for the art. Shout outs to this entire cast and crew of these movies. Truly.
There's an appreciation for what they're making that's just palpable.
It's incredible.
And the fact that like this franchise isn't based on anything, I feel like that adds so much.
Actually, weirdly enough, there was like a news article in like 1997 about underground street racing, and that was the inspiration for the first movie.
You know what? That's great. But like, it's not based on a prior
Yeah.
property or
It's
something
not
like that.
It's not an IP. Now it is an IP. And you know what? They're milking it, and it's worth it. It's worth
you until now. I feel like there's very few movies that have made it the list without being a previous IP. Mostly being James Cameron.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And then I guess like no, Jurassic Park was a book, right?
I think that was concurrent.
Like the book came out at the same time as the movie?
Yeah, like they worked together with making both those things.
Huh. Well, so that's this week's episode of the $1 Billion Movie Club. Next week, we're taking a break. We had a fun break after the first 10 episodes. We thought we'd do another for the next 10 episodes. And so
a very fun break talking about a very fun movie.
Fun's a word. It's Jordan Peele's 2019 film Us, a big box office hit back in 2019. And so we will be making it our discussion point for next week's. Join us for that.
See you then.
It's been a long day without you, my friend. What's the rest of the line?
And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. Oh. Oh.
Family. And I got an email I gotta respond to now. Great.
Yeah, I got I got an email I gotta respond to.
Ooh.
See, I'm doing things.
I wasn't trying to be like I saw it. I'm like, oh, I gotta figure that out now.
But like, for once, I got emails too. That
you go, Pawan. I can send you emails if you want. Send your emails to Pawan Mehta at $1 Billion Movie Club Pawan's email at gmail.com/hyperspace4.
Hyperspace.